بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد فاتح لما غلق وخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومتعين عليم. O slave, he who has contended with me has not believed in me, and he who has planned alongside of me has not truly realized my unity, and he who has complained of what I sent down upon him to other than me has not become content with me, and he who chooses alongside of me has not chosen me, and he who has not submitted to my invincible power has not conformed to my command, and he who has not committed his affair to me has not truly come to know me, and he who does not rely upon me is indeed ignorant of me. So all of the statements in this Munajaah, in this intimate conversation, have to deal with the stages of development that we go through. In the first place, if someone doesn't realize their slavehood, none of this will have any appeal to them whatsoever. You know, a person will think that I'm doing God a favor by following the truth, and as a result I'm entitled to some kind of benefit because following the truth is not the easiest thing to do. I'm doing it, so God look out for me. So that's one place to be in. Another one is to say, well, God, I know that you're the truth, and I know that I'm incapable. I'm not able to do anything, but still, you need to make things easy for me. You need to kind of make a way for me because I'm struggling, and even though I'm not worth it, in the sense that you have so many other creatures, this way is so hard for me. Just make it easy. And then a person who's in another level, which is a person who doesn't consider themselves anything but the slave. So, and even someone who's in that place, this is where it starts, O slave. And he's saying to him, he, and to be honest with you, it's also she, who has contended with me, whoever it is that their will goes against my will. Their desires go against my desire. They find issue with what it is I've chosen to do. Has not believed in me. They haven't put their trust in me, because Iman is about trust. They haven't put their trust in me. If they put their trust in me, they wouldn't put trust in their ideas or their opinions about the way things should be. You know, you don't say should to God. God, you should have done it like this, because right, you don't say that. That's having contending with God. And we wouldn't say that. We don't say things like that directly. Just like Shaitan doesn't tell you don't pray salat. I mean, Shaitan doesn't jump in front of you and prevent you from prayer, but it'll make another suggestion. It'll say, there's plenty of time, don't worry about it. Whereas the nafs is the same way. The nafs won't say, God, you didn't do that right. You should have done it like this. Therefore contending with God, but it will say, God, I don't know. It won't be so bold. Or for some people it will be, but a person who claims to be a slave, it won't be so bold. But he's saying, he or she who has contended with me has not believed in me. Believing in God means trusting in God. Meaning that, how do you trust in God? Know that everything that's happening right now in your life, in my life, that is actually happening, is from Allah. It cannot be from anything else or anyone else. No matter how ugly it is or no matter how beautiful it is impossible for it to come from any other source, because being itself comes from God. And for anything to exist, it has to get its existence from God. No one can make being happen but the one who creates being. And that means that even though you can't understand exactly what's going on, your understanding is not God either. So it doesn't matter if you understand it or don't understand it, because if you understand it, it doesn't make it good. If you don't understand it, it doesn't make it bad. But rather, you have to put those things to the side and trust in Allah, whether you understand or whether you don't understand. If you understand, good for you. If you don't understand, it doesn't have to be an obstacle, because an individual would put their trust before they even understand. A slave puts their trust in the master before they even know what he or she is doing. And he who has planned alongside of me has not truly realized my unity. In other words, the one who plans in such a way that their planning causes them to disobey God, or their planning causes them to forget God, or their planning causes them to compromise the reason why God created them, or their planning causes them to forget God when their plan is not met. It's impossible not to plan. I mean, when I went to the bookshelf to get this book, I had a plan. I'm going to go and get the book. That doesn't mean I'm not planning alongside God. I know that my going to the bookshelf, my getting the book, my finding the book, my seeing the book, I know that none of that can happen without Allah. That's not the kind of thing he's talking about. Planning here means that you would have some kind of goal for yourself that is outside of the meaning in which God created you and I. And it means deeper things, granted, but at this point, the conversation. And he who has planned alongside of me has not truly realized my unity, because Allah is the planner. We plan, and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners, right? But in reality, the reason why He's the best of planners is because no one else's plan will come to fruition. Only His. We plan, and Allah plans. Allah is the best of planners. The reason why, again, is because His is the only plan that will come to fruition, and no one else's. Anything you see out there, that's Allah's plan. We have the grace from God to be able to formulate plans, but at the end of the day, His will be the only plan. And he who has, in other words, if we say there's my plan and Allah, there's my plan and there's your plan, and let's make them coincide, there's no unity in that. I plan because it's a grace for me, but your plan is the plan. And if mine coincides with yours, that's called tawfiq. It is. That's what tawfiq means. Wafaqa. That means that your plan happened to coincide with the plan. That's what that's called. That's what tawfiq means. I mean, literally, that's the definition of tawfiq. And he who has complained of what I sent down upon him to other than me has not become content with me. Now this is a difficult one, because if you know that everything comes from Allah, and something that you don't like comes down from Allah to you, to be able to turn to the one who's doing something to you that you don't like and to complain to him, that takes a tremendous amount of trust. Because if you know it's from him and you think that you're being harmed, in normal situations, if someone's abusing you, you don't go to your abuser. And what do? You go to someone else that can save you. But in this situation, no one can save you from Allah but Allah. So the test in that is that, are you going to turn to me, or are you only going to take from me the things you like? Are you going to take the good and not the bad? Because what kind of a devotion is that? You only want, when things are good, you remember me. When things are bad, you don't remember me whatsoever. And he who has complained of what I sent down upon him to other than me has not become content with me. Meaning that the natural inclination, when I say natural, the habitual inclination that we have to complain to people when things aren't going right, in reality, if we were content with Allah, we would complain to Him. It doesn't mean that we don't. And even actually a higher state than that is that you don't complain at all. You just see Allah. And he who chooses alongside of me has not chosen me. He who has other aims and other objects besides me has not chosen me, because I will not be shared. He who has other aims and objectives besides me has not chosen me, because I will not be shared. That's what that means. If your objective is paradise, you'll have your paradise. If your objective is freedom from the hellfire, you'll have your freedom from the hellfire. Just follow the Sharia, you'll be fine. If your objective is happiness, you'll have your happiness, but you won't have me. The difficulty in that is that happiness in and of itself can't give you happiness. So you want happiness, I'll give you this thing called happiness, but it will leave you. You'll see it, you'll taste it, but it will leave you, because happiness is other than me. But if you want me, I'll give you myself. And that will far outstretch your happiness or your depression or any state or any condition or any emotion that you might experience. But my presence burns out all things. And he who chooses alongside of me has not chosen me. And he who has not submitted to my invincible power has not conformed to my command. And he who has not committed his affair to me has not truly come to know me. And he who does not rely upon me is indeed ignorant of me. And he or she who has not submitted to my invincible power has not conformed to my command. If one insists that they have power of their own, if one insists that they have power, it's guaranteed that they will contend with another power. The nature of power is that power fights other powers. That's the nature of power. Power does not remain in a non-aggressive state, because if it does, or it does not remain in a non-combative state, because if it does, it will lose its power. So as long as you and I think that we have power, we will fight Allah. Power cannot remain outside a state of engagement, outside of a state of combat, because if it does, it will lose its power. And he who has not submitted to my invincible power has not conformed to my command. And if we stay in that state of combat, we will not obey. The conflict is in disobedience. And he who has not committed his affair to me, he who has not turned his affair to me, his life, his death, his everything to me. In other words, he who has not surrendered entirely, and who has not handed over their affair to me, has not truly come to know me. Because if we knew Allah, we knew there's nothing else to turn to. There's no one else to give to, because there's no one else receiving but Allah. We might think that we're turning our affair over to the money, but the truth is that we're only turning it over to Allah, but we just don't realize it, because there's nothing behind the money but Allah. And if we would turn our affair over to our plans, we would, if we knew Allah, if we knew what was really going on, we'd realize that all we've done is turned our affair over to Allah, because behind those plans there's nothing but Allah. He's the first, He is the last, He is the manifest, and He's the hidden. And if we knew what was going on when we turn our plans over to anything whatsoever, we would know that all we've done is turn ourselves over to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And until we realize that, we don't know Him. Until we see that, we don't know Him. And he who does not rely upon me, he who does not trust upon me, is indeed ignorant of me, because they would realize there's no one else to rely upon but Allah. No one else to trust in but Allah. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. Jazakallah khair. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sallam. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al mursalin.